Now we will start the second day. So the second day, it's about public sector innovation, and also now we start looking in the future. So what are we going to do in the next decade, so to say? So the first part will be about institutional perspective. So we have Natalia, that you already heard yesterday, who will talk what the Commission is planning to do, what the Commission has started to do on public sector innovation, and what are the plans in the future. We will have after the point of view of 3 member states. So we have Slovenia, Dr. Karmen Kern Pipan, who will talk about Slovenia and the plans in Slovenia. We have Frank Leyman, who will talk about Belgium, and we have Pedro Viana from Portugal, who will present what they are doing and what they have been doing and what they plan to do in the next future on the side of public sector innovation. So without further ado, I will invite Natalia. So Natalia is the head of Interoperability unit. You know already.
Ik heb hier gegeven dat de tuinder wil minimum 45 fosfaat.
So I don't need to introduce myself, you all know. So let's start immediately. So I think we all agree, but I think it's good to remember why innovation is important in the public sector. There is technology is evolving really fast, and the public services evolution is not normally at that rhythm. So we have to look at that, how fast evolution of technology can be combined with the rhythm of public sector evolution. As we already discussed yesterday, digital is everywhere in any policy, but also all around the society. So the public sector has to take into account how interactions have to happen with citizens and businesses in a digital world. The expectations of citizens have changed because of technology. And I think we will discuss also a lot on the increase of data. But it's not only the increase of data, but also the potential, because now we have, for example, much more computing power. And some experts or people knowing about that in the audience, I know. So we have all these elements that make us look at the innovation in the public sector. We should look at it also from the opportunities perspective, where we can, like always in public sector, we have to increase efficiency. Now it's still sometimes the case is that digital is considered more like a cost than an investment. But so this is evolving, but we need still to work. And if we combine digital with innovation in the public services, we have to change the mindset that this is investment and not only cost, because of the benefits it can bring. As I say, the interactions with the citizens, there are a lot of studies on what will be the public services or the governments of the future. Will they still continue to exist or not? There are many theories on that, and some of the theories are based on how technology evolve and how citizens take up some of the responsibilities. We have to see how to interact with citizens. The way of governance, and this was also a bit discussed. Yeah, I don't know, there is like another class.
Dat is niet in mijn domein dat ik wil, dus daarom wil ik het andere domein, dus boven de rechter. Of onder de rechter.
I try to cry louder.
Oftewel kies ik 2 punten. Weer zoals in de oefening 1 van de voorbereiding.
Let's continue. So the ways of governance, and this is also something on, till now the public administrations were more like waiting the citizen to come and to ask for things or offer. And now there is the, for example, the proactive public services, which are already implemented in some member states, where indeed the citizen receives the services without asking, because the data are there, they are well shared by the different ministries, and the citizen doesn't need to go from one to other, but this is offered directly. And there is also about technology and data sovereignty, or how much we can be autonomous and not dependent, because now data is an asset. But now it has always been, but now it's much more important, and we have to take care of those assets. And, well, being the interoperability unit, Interoperability Academy, for sure, and I think we have also seen that yesterday, that interoperability is key. It has to be considered since the beginning of all design. And it's not because we are innovating that we should forget about the interoperability. So now, looking at which are the needs of the public administrations, and I think we will see also a bit on the presentations that will come later, is that there is a need to be able to test, to experiment. You will see there are a lot of labs that are organized to test, and I would say it's not only to test technology or new technologies, but it's new ways of doing things. So normally you have labs with multidisciplinary officials or people, even with private sector, to find new ways of offering the services. And for that, you need the infrastructure and the support to do this kind of research, experimentation, and so. There is a lot of needs also for collaboration, and we have also discussed this further, that there is the need of collaboration at all the levels of the administration and also at EU level. And I think most of the people here that are here today is also to find ways of collaborating perhaps with other countries or other universities or so that we can really increase the innovation. Then, well, the thing is also how we can move from this testing phase to something that is mature enough. So there is a need to have the whole cycle. So we can test, we can see things. I would say we have to be able to drop some things that show that they are not a success. And this in the public administrations is not always easy to stop things. So I think this is also part of the process. So to make the solutions mature, and then to make sure that they can scale up and be deployed. And I would add also that they can be reused by others. So this is something that is needed there. There are many activities. This is not an exhaustive list of all what's going on, but there are projects in the H2020, and I'm sure some will continue in Horizon Europe after 2021 on disruptive technologies in public services, or how we can use cloud. This is also a hot topic in the public administrations. There are also, for example, the availability of using infrastructure for big data testing. So you can have this infrastructure available to say, okay, I have an idea of what I could do with this data, and using new algorithms, I test it, and then we will see how to make it mature. But at least you have the infrastructure. You don't have to invest in the infrastructure to do this testing. And same thing for blockchain. And in parallel, what we are also doing is observatories and looking. This is to avoid also duplication as much as possible, because having the global view of who is doing what on blockchain, or how blockchain standards are evolving. AI also, well, we'll talk a lot about AI. So there is a task force and work at the European level on what's going on AI, and APIs is another study that is being done in that context. So ISA Square, that was in fact the DNA of the program. In fact, was, okay, let's do something different. And we were putting the means together so that we could test something without having too much risk in investing too much, but putting some member states together, investing a bit, and saying, okay, this really makes sense. And then we move it to mature solutions, and there the way of supporting the usage on the scale-up was a bit different. And there are some examples like e-translation is a nice one that can be used by anybody, which can be implemented to any information system that is doing public services, and you can use this for translating to any language automatically. And the quality is quite good, and being a European tool, we cover all European languages at least, so there is a lot of effort on the languages that we support. And well, you see all the others that I have already talked. And 2 years ago, we started, 2 years ago, we did say, okay, now we have already done some innovation, but we have not a clear idea or a clear picture of what's going on all around to have it in a global view. So we say, okay, let's put all this information together. And also what we were trying to see, to have this global picture, we needed to have an assessment framework so that we can compare, because we will collect data from the different countries, but we need to be able to compare. So for that, we needed a framework that will make this possible. And there are other initiatives on helping to find the innovation that is happening everywhere, and how we can push it and highlight and make it even stronger. That's also why we foresee to have this observatory that will make this visible for everybody, because now also sometimes the innovation happens in a corner, and depending on many, many factors which are not linked to technology or to the success of the project, this may just disappear. So by having an observatory, this can be a good means to have some publicity on that. Well, the studies, as we said, and some piloting, so trying to see, okay, how we can apply. I can give an example, is how we can apply AI in the financial regulatory reporting or in the competition field, because, well, in the competition field for public administration, there is a lot of data that needs to be managed. So the help of AI can be very useful to make the public administrations much more efficient. So, yeah, for the future plans, what we also aim is to have something that will be open all the time, that everybody can include the new projects at any time when they start, or they have something which is concrete enough to be shared. This will be able to be shared through this permanent survey, for which we will use the tool EU Survey that I presented yesterday. So, as I already mentioned yesterday, all what we do is available in JoinUp, so I hope you already logged in once at least there, and all the information about the innovative public services is there, as all the other solutions, but I invite you to look there and see what is already going. There are also links to other, for example, studies being done by other organizations, or links, because indeed, OECD is also doing a lot of studies, and the idea is not to duplicate, but to really share the maximum of information. And now I have already had some questions on what's next. So, so as I said, the ISA2 program finishes next year. In fact, all the programs finish next year in the European Commission, because we have cycles of, for those not knowing, the financial cycles are from 5 to 7 years, so it normally will be 7 years, the next one coming, so starting in 21. And today, for example, the member states are meeting a bit further in Brussels, and they may discuss also on this. Not everything has been agreed yet, but this is. So for the first time, the Commission has proposed to have a Digital Europe program. The idea is to increase the digital capacity in Europe. The amounts that you see there are Commission proposals amounts, and as I said, now is being discussed. We hope a decision will be taken soon, and if you can influence somehow your member states to support these amounts, please do so, because we are competing with agriculture, cohesion, and all that. So we will see what will be the end result. But perhaps before going there, because if you look at the amount, in fact, it's not that big when you see all that it's going to cover. And what is important to know that the idea is that it's not all funded by the Commission, but is the co-investment, so that member states will also contribute to the digital capacity in Europe. I think this was important to mention. So, high-performance computing, this is a priority. A lot of work has already started, but there it will have to continue. And, well, there are many domains where this can be used and applied. And if you see, there is also the public administration. So the idea of this program is to have, indeed, the digital industry or the digital in Europe, but also that it can serve the public administrations. So it's not the highest point in the Digital Europe program, but it's part of it, that that the public administrations can access to those resources. So one is the high-performance computing. We have, well, AI is everywhere, and there the idea is to indeed put together the resources from everybody that we can really test. Well, I won't mention the ethical aspects and all the values that Europe wants to maintain while doing or using the technologies. But the idea is really to make it possible to, for example, SMEs and startups to access these technologies, this information and infrastructure. Well, when we talk digital, and I said also the data now are very, very valuable assets, we have to take care of keeping them secure, so there will be a lot of investment also on the cybersecurity part to make sure that things are going, and also on how we can trust, so the different parties intervening in this. Well, here we are in the Interoperability Academy. I don't need to say how much important is the digital skills. Here is about advanced digital skills. So when you see HPC or AI, blockchain, all these new technologies, they need also to have advanced digital skills. They need people to be trained for that, so that then they can be used. Because if we have very few people knowing about that, it will be very difficult to have it scaling up. Sorry. And then there is the last objective of the program, which is wide, is the deployment, use of digital capacities and interoperability. So as you can see, interoperability will be followed in the next program. Here the idea is on how we can help, for example, the SMEs to get access to the other infrastructure or the technologies that I have talked to. There is also on how the digital technologies can help the public sector, but also the areas of public interest. So here the idea is to cover also, for example, e-health or other aspects, really covering all what is of public interest. And we have already started, even if we don't know how much budget will be available, but we need to work to be ready by 2021 to start implementing this. So we have already started with the strategic orientations. There was a public consultation, I cannot say public consultation, but it was a public consultation on these orientations and the priorities that we thought could be interesting by what all we heard from the different parties, private sector, public sector. And I won't go in the whole strategic orientations. This is available in the pages of the Commission. But I will just talk about two things, which is the a part on citizen-centric digital public services. I think that this is quite important for all people here. And there the idea is to have, so we will have joint solutions that came from different programs. So we have been criticized, and yesterday came also a bit around that in the Commission there are many services and we are not always aligned. This is a way of solving this, because we will put them together and we will make sure that this is done in a current way. So we will put together and we will make them evolve and have new blocks there, which will in fact support the transformation of the public services. So whatever is needed to do the digital transformation will be available. Then depending on which are the needs, you may combine, it's like a Lego, and you may combine differently what you need. And this will be put together. There will also be the support for the once-only principle that was mentioned yesterday in the presentation, which, for example, may be using part of the blocks ahead, but put together in a way that allows the once-only principle. And then the last one will be an interoperability incubator. And also GovTech was mentioned yesterday, and there the idea is to continue what we have already done, okay, making the space available for the public administrations to do this testing and trying out things. And our idea is to do it even more and more together. So how we can put different labs that are being created in the different member states and perhaps making them work together in a new project. How can this be done? How we can test new technologies like, okay, I would like to do something on this, and we don't know all technologies that will come, and not to put all the risk on the public administrations in the member states, but to share them. This can be a way of doing that. And there is also the digital innovation hubs. So innovation hubs are already existed through the Horizon H2020 program. This will be a bit different in the Digital Europe program, and here the idea is to really give access, as I said, to SMEs and public sector to the digital technologies. The digital innovation hubs will be distributed all around Europe, so there will be a geographical distribution with some specialization. So the idea is that you don't need to have all the expertise and the infrastructure in each region in Europe, but you can have it in a place, specialization for, let's say, AI, and in somewhere else, the HPC. But if you put them together, you can do great things. So what the idea of the program is to support this cross or this building of the network where you can get access to specializations in the different innovation hubs. This is, so just as I already mentioned, but in a different view, these are all the programs that were existing now, and we'll go to depth. What you see in the upper row is all the policies that are being supported through these applications, like Inspire with geolocation data that is being used in many, many different domains, being it agriculture or other areas. Open data, single digital gateway, EIDA. So all these policies are supported by some frameworks or solutions and programs that will continue in depth. So, as I said, if you want to know more, join up. There is all the information there. On the ongoing projects on H2020, there is the link. SEF Digital also gives the information. And this afternoon, we will talk about the Digital Europe so that we can also get your feedback. We are shaping it now, so we have, let's say, a bit less, 1 year to have it ready, so that when 2021 arrives, we can start implementing it. Voilà.
Thanks, Natalia. Just a word about the survey there is, if you want to know more, there is a leaflet on the table, so take it. I don't know if anybody has questions. No, very quiet. It was, one. The mic is coming.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Humberto from Mexico. I don't know if I didn't understood, but for the digital innovation hubs, are they like going to be like living labs or something like that, like to allow testing for SMEs and citizens, or is not yet defined the methodology or the way of doing it?
So, well, these are, first thing, these are private-public sector combination, so it is all together. Now, how they will be defined, or I mean, the structure, or how they will be defined, really depends on the regions, because it's made, or for all the countries. So, this is something that is being done by the different countries in different regions, and it really depends on the services they want to offer. So there may be, I don't think now, for example, exists, but I know, because I got the question, if one of those could be focusing only on public administration. So why not? Others are more focusing on for example, how digital can help on the aeronautic industry, because that's what the region is really interested in. And there they may, I don't know, use something on HPC, because that can help on testing, for example, some algorithms. So really, the idea, as I said, is to have it very diverse, and in some cases it can be with citizens, but the main objective is to give access to SMEs, startups, and public administrations, to give access to infrastructure or technologies that they cannot, or they don't have enough budget, and it doesn't make sense to invest in small regions. Okay.
Thanks. Natalia. There is
my name is Philip. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question also on the innovation hubs. So what I see in Germany is that also countries are starting initiatives to build innovation hubs, where there's also really slightly the tendency of siloed innovation. So there are again specialists coming together on a national level. And I'm just keen or interested to see how your idea is of managing, let's say, the European level, then the national level and regional levels, just to make sure that not in 10 years we have, again, inefficient processes of innovation at all different levels. And actually, in the beginning, it would have been smarter of everybody talking to everybody.
Well, but that's the aim of the innovation hubs, and I have to admit I'm not an expert in that. So if someone knows more than me can reply. But that's the idea of the network, and to be honest, this means that there will be European budget given to the innovation hubs to make sure they participate in the network. So I think already funding can be a good incentive to be part of the network. And once you are part of the network, you put your resources available, and you can also access the other resources. There are also, as we mentioned, also some observatory which make this being seen. Now, I also mentioned yesterday there is a subsidiarity that we cannot go against. So, but we try to put at least the information together. And then this is more visible, and then I think this will happen less. Okay.
I saw that we are speaking here about 9.2 billion euro. Are these projects and programs part of the audit program of the Internal Audit Service of the European Commission?
What?
Dirk de Munk.
I didn't understand your question.
We are speaking about 9.2 billion euro. Are those projects and programs that are paid by that also part of the audit program of the Internal Audit Service of the European Commission?
Yes, but it depends. Most of the budget is on direct management, so I would say yes.
And which is the title of the audit?
What is this?
What is the title of the audit?
Title of the audit. But I don't know what is behind your question.
It's not audit money. It's an audit money. It's not audit money.
No. Okay.
We can talk about it after.
Yeah, sorry.
Geert van Grootel, EWI Flanders. I've not a question. I just want to add something on the Digital Innovation Hub and the more transversal aspects, like, for instance, the high-performance computing competence centers that are being set up. I think they start mid-2020, and this is when we'll have them on cybersecurity, etc. And these will be transversal activities. You have to see the digital innovation hubs. What they want to do is to create European-wide networks of experts. So within a region, you don't need to have all the expertise. The idea is if you need expertise specifically, you use the network to insource it from somewhere else. And that is what's going to happen in all the competence centers and the digital innovation hubs. So the siloing thing is still something that can happen and is not necessarily negative. But you have to exploit the network capabilities that the innovation hubs will give you.
Suppose we move to the next. Is it very short? That very short question. Maxime? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Fabio from Agency for Digital Italy. Your presentation has been very interesting. But you never mentioned the word standard. And I think that if we want to strongly involve the software industry, we have to define some standards, so at least for the more mature fields.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't mention it. For me, it was kind of evident. In any case, as I explained yesterday on the interoperability, we cover all the layers and standards or specifications. There are some discussions on what we can do where, but this will be continued, and this is part of the program. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Natalia. I propose we move to the next speaker. So we will have now Dr. Karmen Pipan. This is the head of the Data Development Department in the Office of Development of Digital Service in the Ministry of Public Administration in Slovenia. Dr. Pipan, you say? Pipan will present some insights about data management and the challenge in public sector innovation in Slovenia. You have a pointer if you want.
So, good morning. I will present you some of our challenges and also results and perspectives in the field of emerging technologies, big data tools, and also data management from Slovenia, and also part of our results of artificial intelligence. First, something about my country. I'm sure you know it. We are located on the border with Italy, Austria, Hungary and Croatia. Since 1991, we are independent, and before we were part of the ex-Yugoslavia. We are around 2 million people there, and our GDP is around 85% of the percentage of European Union. We have around 20,000 square kilometers of our area. On one side, Alpine region on the border with Italy and Austria, and on the other side, with the border with Croatia and Italy, also Adriatic Sea. Our official language is Slovenian, which is unique language. Our capital is Ljubljana, and our currency is euro. I brought also some information related to research and development area. In case of expenditure as a percentage of GDP, you can see here the countries of European Union. The blue line is average. It's around 2.7% of GDP. And on the left side, you can see the countries which are investing most, beginning with Sweden, Austria, Denmark, Germany, following by Finland, Belgium, France, Netherlands, and then came Slovenia, following by Czechia, United Kingdom, Italy, Hungary, and so on. You can see that we invest considerable amount of money to the research and development. I brought also some results from PISA. It's a project of International Students Assessment of OECD, where 3 important fields are assessed: reading, science, and mathematics. And here again, you can see Slovenia, it's above average of OECD countries in all these 3 fields. You can see above all Estonia, of course, and it's followed then by other countries. And Slovenia you can find together with Denmark, Norway, Germany, followed by Belgium, France, and so on. That's why I brought this, because my country traditionally invested a lot in these fields, and also our education system is in these fields quite strong. That's why also in my country we were traditional one of the pioneers in the field of artificial intelligence, beginning in 1970 at the Josef Stefan Institute and our University of Ljubljana, where Professor Ivan Bratko, at that time with his group of researchers, started in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. In 1980s, we covered finance, management, and healthcare, and in 1990s, there was some broader expansion in this field by machine learning and qualitative reasoning. Last but not least, since some weeks, UNESCO decided to give us first international research center for artificial intelligence, which will be seated in Ljubljana. Some notable achievements from Josef Stefan and universities: the event registry. It's a kind of system for analyzing the text news sources to track global news spread, and also in the context, and also it's possible to predict spread news. And COPCAMPS, where we, together with 7 other European countries, developed a network of cameras which are able to identify the most important video streams for transmission. It's used in surveillance industry, monitoring of traffic, and advanced manufacturing. On November 25th in Paris, the UNESCO Conference General decided that we get this Center for Artificial Intelligence, and it was really a recognition for our scientists, and also good cooperation between our government and UNESCO. And it opened also in the field in educational resources, where we gained recognition as a global leader in this field. This research center will be officially established next year. And of course, we are also designing national artificial strategy with several stakeholders, especially involving Institute Josef Stefan and all Slovenian universities. That is only to give you some broader picture that in my country this field was developed before. And today, of course, the data are no longer some subject of examination only in lab or in institute or academia. And that's why today data are everywhere, not only professional, only private. You can see here 1 minute in internet, what happens. In 1 minute in internet, we have 1 million logging in Facebook, for example. We have 188 million emails every minute sent. We have 41 million messages sent, and so on. In Google, we have 3.8 search queries every minute. It's quite amount of information, quite amount of data. And that was something that we were thinking in our public administration, how to extract valuable information out of all this data, how to use this knowledge in the country, and how to use emerging technologies to get information and to move to the better decision making and to move to the better services for our citizens and companies. And other thing which is important today, focus shifted from applications to the data. And that is something where can we extract new knowledge. I would like to tackle also the case on one side. We have to think about data security according to GDPR in case of personal data. On the other side, we would like to have transparent and open data for everyone. But that are two extremes. In between, there is large gray scale of the data, which are not maybe open and which are maybe not personal. And that is something where we have gap and where is something where we lack some common guidelines, some common policy, also on European level and also in my country on national level. What we would like to do, we would like to have some kind of ecosystem, governmental platform for data analytics, building data warehouse, business intelligence on top of it, building data lake, and have a basis for emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. As I mentioned, there are some legal bases, but in between for data in general, that is something what we lack. Also on European and national level, that is something where we would need some common guidelines for rules for data accessibility, for data quality, if you like, for interoperability of this from legal, organizational, semantic, and technical aspect. If we would like to collaborate cross-border, we need some common principles. And of course, we are aware that there is huge work in skills building and also in building awareness. Situation in our public administration nowadays, we have several databases. We have a lot of data, but these databases are mainly unlinked. They are placed in different silos, and when we need some proper report, we have Excel and we have none in our hands. That means that there are some kind of reports which are periodically and which are done mainly by Excel, and it takes half a day to a day to some person to do it every time from the scratch. This could be predefined, this could be automated, and people could do smarter work with emerging technologies, focusing on predictive analytics, on what-if scenarios, on proper data interpretation, and for extracting new knowledge from the data, not only to preparing some kind of sheets and reports. And the same story is when we get some questions from journalists, from our members of parliament. That's why we estimate that we would save 1/3 or 1/2 per person per governmental agency using emerging technologies and using automatization in this field. So our goals are to get benefits for citizens, businesses, and policymakers to improve data-driven decision-making with new technologies. And last but not least, I would like to stress out very important role of users, of data owners, who are the only ones who are able to do proper interpretation of the data. There's no problem about the technology, there is no problem about the IT support, but knowledge about the data is not in IT, it's on the other side, it's on the side of the users. And the users mainly are not equipped with the knowledge how to use it, and that is the real challenge for moving on. I will share you some of our experiences which we had when we, in 2017, decided to try AI, to try big data tools, and to see if we install this on our governmental private cloud, if there are some benefits for HR and for public procurement. We did this pilot together with international company EMCDEL, and we had also more than 20 people from our ministry, mainly deriving outside IT. That means from legal department, from finances, from HR, Secretary General for Directorate for Public Sector. We took data on HR. That means everything what is stored from our people, including education, promotion, trainings taken, business trips, and so on. We took all salaries, also finances, and we took also some open data, postal codes of employees and weather. I say postal codes, not full data, because the data are personal, and that's why we had to mask them. We had a very interesting experience with media. In our newspapers, there were headlines, Big Brother from USA is coming to see Slovenian public administration. People were scared what will be going on, to take personal data, will there be some processing on individual level, will there be some consequences, and so on. And people were not keen that we want to do some big data project. It was like Big Brother, you know. We then decided that no data will be exported out of our premises, that all processes for analysis will be done apart from internet, and that MCDEL experts will come and will do all analysis on our premises under strict conditions. And we made the promise that no data will be revealed and that no data on individual level will be used. We had also challenged to get permission from our informational commissioner because of the personal data. And it was quite an interesting story. We had to write such a document, to write everything in advance, what will be done, which attributes will be processed, and so on. But the story was really interesting because information commissioner wanted us to write hypotheses and to test them. Nobody needs big data tools for hypotheses and to test them. You can do it with classical tools. When you use big data tools, you are searching for something new or something unexpected. You cannot write hypotheses. And luckily, we found some article in our law where it's written that we are able and allowed to do statistical research. I speak about our own data, about our ministry, not about the data of whole Slovenian public administration. So it was like skiing, you know. We were on the edge of on one side legislation and one side research, if you like. But we succeeded. We wrote this paper, we were waiting half a year to get permission, and we could move further. We couldn't move further with big data. We could move further with small data because they didn't allow us to take what we wanted. But nevertheless, we could do our lesson. And more of it, the people in our project who are not from IT began to support it, began to see the point, and they saw also their role, because at the beginning they told us, it's big data, IT do it, we have nothing with this. They didn't see their role and they didn't understand that they have the knowledge about interpretation. That's why it's not the problem of technology, it's the problem of trust and it's problem of communication. And the main point was that when we had workshops with data source owners, show them other cases together with EMCDEL, and that we try to listen each other, that we spoke the same language and that we understood each other, IT and non-IT. And at some point, when we had mid results, they realize that they are the only one who can interpret it, that we have no knowledge. Because their experiences with applications were that IT always know the question and also the answer. But in the case of the data, this is not the case. The only one who can know the answer is the user. And by the process, they also saw their role, and they also supported the project. And that was also the point where our project became success in a house, apart from beginning when we were big brother and so on. Okay, I will show you some examples what we did to show them what we can do apart from Excel. That is some predictive analytics. How could we use our premises? The red points are our national holidays, and the blue line is how we are present in our buildings. You can see that we are not there all the time. We could close half of the buildings, and we could spare the money on heating and cooling if we wouldn't sit in our offices and if we would move. And that was information for Secretary General and also for finances. The data could bring new knowledge and new insights if you use modern technologies. Here we combined open data. These are data on weather and postal codes of employees. And we were looking how our people are coming to the work in case of rain and in case of snow. You can see here on the left side snow, and on the right side is rain. And it is interesting is that people who live near, they delay more in case of rain than people who are more distant. It's weird, but it's logical, because in Ljubljana, when it's rain, you cannot walk so quick, you cannot ride a bike, traffic is stacked, buses are full, and everything stops. So, of course, if you are distant or near, doesn't matter. I think also in other cities is similar. Here we combined sickness leave and temperature. Again, logical. Where temperature is low, sickness is high. It could be also used for project, which months are people here and which months not, or we could use some preventions, maybe to do something that people wouldn't be sick. Last but not least, this is an interesting case, but I have to give you some rationale behind again. In my country, every public servant gets a note every year, from 1, which is the lowest, to 5, which is the highest. We get it from our superior. Majority of us are super performers. You cannot distinguish us. We are all good because we don't have any measurement of our productivity, and we don't have in place management by objectives. So that's it. But when we used the data from HR, from data from time management, from business trips, from trainings, and so on, we got 250 attributes, 250 characteristics. And we got 5 different groups of best performers, as you can see. And we were not equal anymore. And you can see in the middle, cluster B, these are best performers who have really 5, and also other characteristics on a higher level, and these are people who work maximum working time on Friday, and also people who work more than others in comparison with other departments. And you can see cluster D, this is second best performing cluster. These are people who have greatest variation in working time and who take a lot of business trips. On the other side, you can see cluster C. These are people who have lowest variation in working time, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. They work from 8 to 4, and that's it. The most interesting was that we lost 4 people in this time of analyzing this period, and these 4 people were from cluster B and D. We really lost 4 best performance. And the lesson learned was, if we would use some emerging technologies to do some analytics, we would prevent it. We would maybe take some measures. But if we use only Excel and similar stuff of the tools, there is no additional information. And that was lesson learned from HR and also from Secretary General. So we succeeded, and we gained trust, and everyone said it was a good project. We've learned a lot. And we learned something more, that AI, emerging technologies, big data tools, call it as you like, are fine tools for trying, researching, testing, but that we lack in between, from Excel to AI, lower layers such as data warehouse, business intelligence, to do automatization of daily work. And that was lesson learned, which brought us that we launched a project for business intelligence tools and data warehouse in 2017. And now we are doing testing for the public salaries of whole public sector in Slovenia, and we are about to import the data for whole public procurement of public sector of Slovenia. I think we will do in some months production of the testing data of public salaries. I think this will be in spring. And our goal is by 2022 that this will be permanent service for other governmental agencies. Because we built this data warehouse not for our ministry, but for governmental bodies, for Slovenian public administration. On one side, we have data sources, different data sources from different applications. Then we have data warehouse where we import them. On top, we put business intelligence tools to store queries, and then comes out reporting with dashboards, with different kind of infographics. To see it in detail, you can see on the left side different data sources such as public sector salaries and public procurement. That is 3/3 of our budget, by the way, of Slovenia. And on lower there, you can see common code lists. These are common code lists which will be used by all public sources, like governmental agencies codes, like codes for different countries and so on, which are public and which are used by everyone. You can see data warehouse. It is separated to smaller data marts. That is because of our legislation that, especially in case of personal data, data have to be masked, and only authority which has legal basis is able to look at them. In case of non-personal data, we don't have problem with linking and with other procedures, but in this case, they need permission from Informational Commissioner first, otherwise we don't do data lake, if you like. On top of it, business intelligence tools with queries according to the needs of our users, and reporting, infographics, dashboards, and important stuff is predictive analytics for planning, for what-if scenarios. Main benefits which we found: first, to get new knowledge out from the data, and important role of advanced users who can do proper interpretation. And last but not least, one truth, one data and one truth for everyone, not Excel when everyone is changing everything. Very important lesson learned was change management challenge, to learn to listen each other, to understand each other, and also to learn how to use the tools. And that's why we also organized trainings on our public sector academy. And we had more than 870 participants in 2 years, different kinds of workshops, and people were willing to come and they wanted to learn, but they only have to have possibility. I will try to show you our business intelligence tools. That is our dashboard. You can see here month of May, for example, if I take it. And if I'm interested in communities, I take communities here, and the data is drilled down automatically. And if I'm interested in community of Ljubljana, which is our capital, I go there and click this, and I get the data from Ljubljana. And if I'm interested in our main hospital of Ljubljana, I click it, and the data will be automatically also drilled down. And that is something which could be predefined and automated, and only the data are done, new data are coming. And our users can easily get the information, also directors and upper officers. That will be from my side. If you have some questions, I will be happy to answer.
can ask you, because we're a bit late, that I mean, unless it's a very short question, or, but we can propose, I propose we keep the question at the end because we're a bit late for everybody. So I will invite, and we will move to the next speaker. So the next speaker is Pedro Viana. Sorry, yeah. In the order is, yeah, it's Pedro Viana. So Pedro is the director of the digital transformation in the Portuguese Modernization of Public Administration Agency. And he will present the past and future. And here it is.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'll try to speed up. Yeah, I'll try to speed up the presentation. But first, because we are adapting to the new ways of doing things, I will try to engage you with a video, so in YouTube.
To have the world at hand is to have more time for the world. It's having at your fingertips, at the corner of any street, close to where you are, within reach, solutions that make your life easier. Solutions that save you time, that allow you to be faster, to do things simply and intuitively without leaving anyone behind. And while we prepare for tomorrow, we are doing it today. The legacy we have is where we serve to develop solutions for those in need. That's how we are providing automated social discounts on energy bills without any forms or paper involved. With the world in sight, it's comforting to travel with one of the safest passports in the world. So easy to get and renew. And wherever we might go, it's always nice to have our favorite services on our smartphones, with strong authentication if needed. And why wait on queues if one can get and manage virtual tickets on a mobile app and avoid all the waiting? We like to remind citizens that life should be lived without bureaucracy. And that is why we already renew driver's licenses online. Or why we allow citizens to have their income tax forms automatically filled in for them. And it doesn't matter if you are not comfortable with digital services. We offer you a network of spots, in the coastland or in the mountains, where you can find someone to guide you through it. That's how you will take care of yourself and your loved ones. With no paper and very easily accessing medical records, scheduling an appointment, or getting a digital medical prescription. If you are an entrepreneur, we have great news for you. You can set up your company with a handful of clicks and start running it on the very same day. Why we do it? To allow you to have more time for yourself and for those who really matter. It's being able to vote for a good idea for my country. It's being able to satisfy your needs, day or night, without borders, without barriers, in your own time. It's Portugal today.
Yeah, no, yeah. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's correct. Okay. So, thank you for watching the video with attention. I think it's one of the best ways to gather attention of citizens is to engage. This is the digital mobile key. Okay. I was saying this, we are trying to engage the citizens on consuming digital services, because we found that after several years putting lots of projects on deploying lots of digital processes and trying to modernize public sector, the biggest issue we have is usage of the services that we are providing. We are lousy people communicating the services we are providing. And this is an example. We have a lot more of other services available for citizens. But we are very lousy communicating with citizens and sharing with them and listening to citizens. So in Portugal, in recent years, we put together a strategy for service delivery that combines digital service delivery, and we have a very comprehensive set of digital services online, more than 1,000 digital services from several entities that are available in one portal. Then we have more than 1,000 websites, different websites also competing with this one portal. We have also provided, like you see on the presentation, ways for people to digitally to have access to face-to-face services, like the citizen map that allows you to get information on the road, and not the public institution that is providing the services, but allow you to know where you can take the services nearby. So we have put together also a network of services that are available through the Citizen Shop. Citizen Shop is like a mall with several entities on the same place that are providing services. But we also have put it together now. There are 611 citizen spots around all the country where you can take digital assisted services. So every service that is digital, there is someone that can help you, that can do for you, to help you to have digital services. So we have this network of more than 600 citizen spots available for people to have access to learn how to use digital services. And then we have also 32 business spots that are more service-oriented, services that are oriented for companies, businesses, and so on. This is our approach for service delivery. Of course, we are providing a common contact center, but of course, there are a lot of other contact centers on public sector also. We are trying to center the communications for the citizen to know where they can have information. If we cannot provide them the information, we will provide them the place where they can have the information they are asking or having the service. And we've been doing this for several years and aligned with the European, this slide, with all European strategies and programs. We are trying to provide the building blocks for having more and more digital services. And when we are talking about digital services, we are not talking about only digital services. We are talking about digital services as default, but they can be consumed the way citizens prefer it to be consumed. Even that I work together with these ministries, some services that I have from the public sector, even sometimes I have difficulties. Sometimes it's not about the service that is provided by the government, but it's about the knowledge about what is happening. Normally I say that we have now about 17 ministries because we changed government recently, and each ministry deals about the sector. And we ask our citizens to know everything that we thought, oh no, this is very complicated, let's divide it in 70 different sectors. And we are asking everyone to know how to interact and how to talk with public services and with total autonomy to use digital services. And I think it's a bit too much. and even I, sometimes we normally related to tax. I prefer to have a face-to-face conversation with someone that will help me to get a better service and not doing mistakes that later I will have to pay double. So we have created also a governance for ICT transformation. We are, every 4 years we renew this governance. Now we are on the process of renewing the governance for ICT and digital transformation in public sector. And what the outcomes of this governance is to have a strategy for the next following years that is at the same time central strategy that also includes action plans that are sectorial. So the way the ministries will have to define the way they will achieve the goals that we are proposing for the national strategy. So this is a top-down and bottom-up strategy for 4 years time that we are now renewing for the next 4 years. Of course, we put together in place for long years, so since 2007, a national ID. Now, today, it's 99% of the population is covered with this digital ID. But we found that even this was difficult for people to use. So recently, we put together, not recently, but since 2014, we put together a mobile digital ID. So in the first years, we didn't make much communication. Last year, we enforced communication, and we started having about 200,000 users until now. We have more than 1 million in just 1 year, because people are seeing the benefits of having this digital ID. They can sign, they can authenticate in websites and have a service on their mobile or any other on a computer and so on. And we are addressing the problems of having a card, knowing the PIN code, and to have a reader, card reader, and so on. So we are making more easy for the citizens to have services, digital services. Of course, all of this is possible because of the interoperability platform we've put together in 2007. So as an example, since the moment my son born in the hospital until someone dies, all the life cycle of is going through this interoperability platform. So all the citizens, for instance, the citizen card is created in the moment someone borns, and is revoked at the moment someone dies. And everything in between, the change of address, the change of I'm married, I'm not married, and so on, happens within our interoperability platform that alongside it supports other kinds of services. For instance, the energy fare that was promoted on the video. And this interoperability platform today, each year, supports 500 million messages that are being interchanging between sectors in the administration in order to supply information for providing services. And this interoperability platform also provides notifications to citizens. For instance, the prescription, the medical prescription, is not provided in an app or using email. It's providing you a short message because it's a universal way of reaching people. And we support also payments to the public sector and so on. This is you can see later, but this is the automated social energy tariff. In 1 year, we rise from 80,000 families that were covered by this tariff. When we did it fully automatically, about 800,000 became available for this family. So let me see. This is being difficult because it's not projecting on my thing. So what are we thinking what are we thinking about the future? We're thinking, of course, AI, artificial intelligence, will have a great impact. So last year we put together some financing for doing projects between universities, the government, public sector, and companies and private sector using AI. And we got more than 50 projects that we are financing. And these projects, they go from roads, something, to healthcare, and social security. We are covering lots of grounds on what we are doing in this project. We aim them to be, we can enlarge them, generalize them, in order to cover all public sector in the future. And we'll also put together a project using blockchain and GovTech in order to test these technologies and to know how we can use it. Recently, we put in place a digital competence centers as a consultant. This is like a business that is providing consultancy to other public entities. We hire these people from the private sector in order to give more the public sector more a quicker way to implement projects and not to be as dependent on private sector for knowing their own business. Okay. And we are since the last 4 years we are improving a lot on public participation, and we put a lot of effort on doing lots of projects that we are involving the citizens and the businesses from the start. One of these examples is Simplex. Simplex is a modernization program that each year we have more than between 100 and 200 measures for simplification, administrative simplification. We also put in place a national participatory budget that is among the first ones at the national level, worldwide, where we are financing projects that are identified by the communities, but at the national level. We have put also together GovTech for financing startups that were working in subjects like the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, and projects that are of interest for the public sector. And we are doing that with blockchain. Each person is given virtual coins that they don't have value, only for voting on this. And they can vote, invest on the projects they like more. And then the projects that have more investment, we'll invest some money on them and work with them. We also put together in recent years the LabX. LabX is the experimentation laboratory from public sector. And now LabX has also a space where we can try new ways to provide public services. In a citizen store. It's a space that when you want to experiment a new way of delivering services to the citizens, we have this space and we can reorganize and put things in order to try to pilot a new way for providing citizens. We have also put together an act that allows a public sector entity to stop the application of a regulation in order to, for some months, to test a new way of doing this, the service they are providing. And they can do it outside the regulation for some time, and if this goes well, they can then propose a change on the regulation in order to improve services, and that happens also because of LabX. And then we are participating on the Open Government Partnership in Portugal. I will skip the rest of the presentation, so I can be on time, if possible. And thank you all, but I'm trying to speed up these things, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Pedro. As I say, we keep the questions for after, so I will call immediately Frank Leyman, managing the BOSA, which I guess is the same acronym in France and Flemish, so it's the Belgium agency. If you can continue while I find you. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Welcome, Frank.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'll start by apologizing because I forgot my video about the Belgian coast. So I'll skip that and go straight to the presentation. Now. When 4 or 5 years ago, when the last Belgian government was put in place, they appointed a minister of the digital agenda. And that minister gave us 3 goals to achieve as our digital transformation office. First one was try to get into the top 3 of the DESI index. At that time we were number 5. Make sure that 75% of all our services are digitalized, and make sure that 75% of the citizens use digital services. Now, the second and the third objective we managed to reach, but the first one we really didn't manage to reach it. Basically, although we did quite some activities and work, apparently our colleagues worked faster and better. So year after year we slided backwards. Now if you look on the right slide, you see that basically we have the infrastructure, the digitalization is there, but like Pedro said, for Portugal, we also struggle with uptake. So you will see quite some similarities in my speech and the one from Pedro, by the way. So, okay, we said, how can we innovate and get the usage up? So we started by looking a bit more in detail about what do customers really want, or what do we want to give to our customers. Now, this list is the kind of principles that we, as public authority, we want to offer for all the services that we build. Yeah, it's a commitment that we take, that we want to offer these kind of services. But as it takes 2 to tango, there is also the customer. And if you look at the customer side, basically what the customer wants is simple things. Like he wants to be able to ask something, to say something, to complain, to participate to something, or even to compliment. He wants to be taken seriously, and he wants to have an interaction, if possible, with a face and not just an anonymous email address. We believe more in these kind of things and try to offer that in whatever kind of services that public sector is offering, but making sure that we offer him this kind of a minimum service. Sorry. So, like every good organization, we did a SWOT analysis and tried to pinpoint what are our weak spots, because that's what we need to concentrate on. Now you see in the upper right corner the weak spots that we had. Basically, the interaction with our colleague ministries was not really optimal, and the same thing was happening with the data. We were not exchanging our data to the optimal. We needed to work a bit more towards more user-centric services, and finally, we absolutely needed to have some kind of an infrastructure where we could look at new technologies in a quick and efficient way so that we could implement them right away. Basically, I could resume the past with this kind of a drawing. We were doing well, but we were not evolving the way we should have evolved. Technology-wise, we saw things happen, but we really did not take it up. And so that's probably also one of the major reasons why we slided away in the DESI index. Now, once you know what the problem is, we can take action. Basically, well, first of all, we needed to keep on doing and managing the existing. We wanted to continue digitalizing our services with a goal at the end that should be a digital by default situation. We needed to work much more on enhancing our e-services, and we needed to install some kind of a tool and environment to test new technologies. For our 3 target groups, which is government sector, industry, and citizens, for government sector, we said the best thing we can offer is a platform, government as a platform, government as a service, so that all our colleague ministries can function in the best possible cases. So we started, and sorry for the detailed slide, we started by creating what we call the G cloud, the government cloud, which is basically on the layers that you know in the back office, whether it's hardware, software, service or application or tools. We offer them a set of options up to them to decide which one fits best for their environment. And we make sure that the most common standards are being covered. Of course, we follow what was discussed yesterday, the European Interoperability Strategy. We think it's very well written. There's a lot of food of things that can be used. So if every country would implement that, that would make interoperability at European level, of course, much easier. So we try to implement that as much as possible. There's also the identity management aspect that is plays a key role in the whole digital environment. Oh, thanks you. That is two things. First of all, in the virtual world, we have our identity management platform, which we call Sesam, where we offer a range of authentication options. And on the end user side, we focused on offering, besides the standard EID login and PIN, also the mobile version with a company that's called It's Me, which is very popular. In 1 year, good 1.5 years, they took about 20% of all authentications via mobile. Now, the combination of that allows us to personalize also our services. Services, if you can link that to a person, either with an EID or a mobile authentication, you can make it personalized. And that, of course, gives you a direct impact to the citizen. We also created what we call an ecosystem. Again, I'm not going to detail that, but it's just creating an environment around the user in his context or her context, making sure that all the things that we offer there makes his life better and that he can function more efficiently. The last thing that we, for instance, launched last year was the e-box, which is just a virtual mailbox where we concentrate all communication of public sector towards the preferred inbox of the citizen. On industry side, there we focused a lot on e-invoicing. We do already procurement online in a virtual way. You reply to tenders online, but once you get the contract, all the invoicing is done online in a standardized way. So we try again to make it all as efficient as possible. Then we have this innovation lab. We also have installed and implemented, or we are in the phase of implementing an innovation lab where we can learn about things, test things, develop something, and then make some conclusions out of there and implement it. You see a number of things that we've tried there. We work closely together with the Swedish and Portuguese colleagues because they have very nice tools that we like to copy. This being said, Belgium is still very small. The innovation lab will be still very small. So we have suggested to the European Commission that we put all these innovation labs that we all create in our countries in a virtual network all together so that we can benefit from each other's studies and benchmarkings as much as possible. Then we also launched a citizen participation platform. It's called monopinion.be or myopinion.be. It's a platform that you can all use, tailor it to the kind of question or survey you want to do. We do this in 4 levels. You can do this around some information, some consultation, co-decision or evaluation. It's very modular. It's for free to use, but we struggle a lot with GDPR when it comes down to asking questions in the public sector. We need to allocate that to a certain region or a municipality or whatever. Gives us quite some headaches for the moment. Now, all of this being said are nice little tools, but for us this is not enough. We thought that it would be much more efficient if we accompany them in their journey towards innovation, towards much more citizen-centric approaches. And so we've launched actually 3 things. First of all, we launched what we call a digital playbook. We did organize something like a tennis match. It's called the BOSA Digital Open. And then we have created an expertise center for design and user-centric approaches. So let me explain that. First of all, the book, well, it's on a website. You have a set of information. You have good practices that are there, all kind of nice tools and guidelines to help you to create a user-centric design and service in public sector. Now, one of the nice things that is part of that is what we call a quick scan. It's a scan you can do online of your organization, and it tells you in kind of 5 themes how ready or not ready you are to be or to build something in a citizen-centric way. It generates a thing like that. It's some kind of a nice spider web that tells you how good or how bad you are in whether your organization is culturally ready to do these kind of things, whether your structure is ready for it, whether you have the methods on board, whether you're citizen-centric minded, yes or no, and how inclusive your services are or not. It's just a starting report that allows you to say, okay, maybe I need to focus a little bit more on one or the other aspect in order to get there. Then there was this BOSA Digital Open. Basically, it is some thematic days we organized. And really, it's time for coffee. We did some thematical days, actually all related to user-friendly design. We did it on service design, one on stakeholder management, and one on how to optimize your search engines in a more customer-friendly way. And then finally, we created, actually we made a frame contract with 3 private companies who are key experts in user-centric design. That frame contract is available to the whole public sector. You just book a slot in the agenda of these people. And you see there the list of things that we've done so far. It goes in all kinds of directions. For instance, a museum has used it to see how they can make a visit of a citizen with a higher experience degree than just walking in, paying your ticket, go from one painting to the other, and then walk out. We use it also for all our services, of course, because we can be better user-centric design also. Just as a conclusion, yesterday we spoke a lot about single digital gateway. Well, we've used this platform to bring together all the federal public services that are involved with SDG, and that's probably almost everybody. But in order to create one unique vision and one unique approach on SDG, we have used the tool on 7 of these live events, and just to create the cohesion and make sure that there is one answer at Belgian level. That was very much appreciated because we are not used to work together, to talk to each other, and to build something together. So it is pretty efficient. So I'll stop here. If you want more details on all these events that we did, it's in the backup slides. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Frank. Many details. It was very interesting. I wanted to add just one point is, I think we could also benefit in the European context, multilingual by default that Belgium has, because this is also a challenge. And if we have time for 3 questions, if there was some question from here for the Slovenia, and if we can have my microphone for the speakers, please, working.
Hello, it's for the,
say your name as well.
The head of the Belgian
and if you can
team.
introduce yourself as well.
I am Michelle from Malta. I come from the employment section, the government sector. And I could see that you had worked on the work aspect of the public sector. In the last slide, there was the work. Can you please expand how you had digitized that area in Belgium, please?
Actually, I cannot. I'm sorry. Is it one of the examples of that use the platform?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I need to go and look in my slides. Sorry about that.
Working.
Oh, this one. Sorry, I was not present. I couldn't tell you what I did over there. Sorry. I'll tell you later on in the break.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, there was a question from Colin. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Colin. I'm researching AI in public sector. I have a small question about the big data project. I found it very interesting to see the dashboard and also the grouping of these different employees. What I'm wondering, what was done with the data? Were there any changes made in the HR policy, or did it kept being a data analytics project with a lot of nice graphs, but what came after it? I'm very curious to know.
As I told you, Big Data Pilot was pilot, which has ended. One lesson learned was that we have to establish lower layers like data warehouse and business intelligence, and that is what we are doing and implementing. We implemented data warehouse, and we imported data for whole public sector salaries, and we are now in the stage of testing it with our users. That means with the people from Directorate for Public Sector who are covering this and who are doing it now by Excel and Access. And in 3 months, this will go into production. That means that such kind of dashboards will be available for our users, first internally, and some data which are also now published, like a portal, will be also available for outside. And the second data source is public procurement of our country, and this data will be imported in some months, and in half a year this will also be in production. And that is what we did, and that is concrete follow-up. And furthermore, we would like to put also data on finances and HR in data warehouse and business intelligence, like in every other private company. If you like, business intelligence is used for monitoring of business. On the other side, if your question was related to big data, furthermore, that is something which we will also done, but first we wanted to cover the layers which were uncovered and which are needed for daily operations.
Okay, thanks. Last one, and after we will go for coffee. Where was the, here.
Yes, thank you. My name is Huub Mulker from the Netherlands. My question goes out basically to all 4 speakers, but I will address it specifically to Pedro. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. It shows what you have done, and most of it is very innovative. But have you measured the effects about citizen satisfaction? And also, Portugal is a country that has had very hard times. These innovations that you've done, economic results can be directly related to what you've done, and also citizen satisfaction.
First of all, for instance, we have several ways of measuring the success of our projects. Not of all of these projects they can relate with savings, money, better efficiency. Some of these projects have to be made because of something. Sometimes it's political will, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's because we are trying and failing sometimes. But I can share with you that, for instance, at the Simplex, the simplification measure, we done some studies. Firstly, with with national universities in order to measure the impact, and the impact was very high. And recently we've done a study that was financed by the European Commission, that was done with EI, I think, that revealed the true impact of some, not all, of the measures that we are putting in this simplification program, administrative simplification program. So we are measuring. Most of these projects, what we learned is that they are profitable for the public sector, they are profitable for the citizens, and for the businesses. So they give lots of benefits for the society in general. But there are other gains. Of course, for instance, when we are talking about our strategy of citizen engagement, we are talking about having the service delivered the way the citizen wants. And of course, you may know, but it's a lot more expensive to have people attending face-to-face than is to have these people going to a digital portal and having self-service on this digital portal. But not everything is about money, efficiency. There are the part of the evaluation that the citizens made of our services. That's the other part, okay? Once we try to have all evaluations, all the evaluation of the service that is delivered made, but we struggled with lots of different things that we, of course, were expecting, but we didn't expect they were so strong. For instance, the unions on the public sector, they are quite strong. And they don't want this to be an evaluation of the employee or the civil servant. So we struggle to identify good ways to measure the citizen's satisfaction with our services. How do we measure the citizen satisfaction? We have, of course, the uptake, the usage indicators, and we have put in place I think it's mandatory in all European countries. We have a digital complaints book, but it is not only for complaints. It's also for saying what is going well, but without evaluating the civil servant. So we are putting in place this project. It passed the pilot stage. Now we are thinking how we'll generalize it. So every citizen will be able to evaluate or give the congratulations or some other thing every time they have some kind of interaction on the public sector. And then perhaps we'll be able to get more information. But let me tell you that sometimes the worst experiences are the ones that normally go to the books, okay? So.
Thank you, Pedro. Propose now we go for the coffee. We're a bit late, so we will start at 11.
20 to 12.
Right, 20 to 12. So please be on time, enjoy, and see you after.